So today I'm chatting to Cyndi Pitzner from Pitzner Farms near Jefferson in Wisconsin. And I had the privilege of visiting Cyndi on her farm earlier this week and spent some time with her family. And yeah, I'm so inspired after I was there. So I said, Cyndi, we have to sit down and we have to share some of your story and what you're doing. So Cyndi, thank you for chatting with me and with my audience. And yeah, please introduce yourself. You are a woman farmer as well, and you just have a lot of things that you're busy with except for farming. So yeah, please
I
just
do.
share with us.
Yeah, I have a tendency to overfill my plate. But I grew up on a farm in Jefferson, Wisconsin. Currently, I'm running about 2,000 acres with my son. We run corn, soybeans, wheat, alfalfa. We have some steers of our own, and then we have a dairy facility that we lease to another dairy farmer, and he has about 500 head of dairy heifers at that facility. That's the guts of the farming thing. And on the side, I work with a couple partners on a little bit of a CBD business. I work on estate planning and real estate, and I do bookkeeping for some other farmers and work for a local law firm helping people with that. So yeah, I stay pretty busy.
So a part of my audience are also women in agriculture, and some of them are farmers' wives, some of them are doing business ventures on their own. And so how did you get involved in farming? Was it something that you always wanted to pursue? Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a kid, I was always on the tractor with Dad, always on the combine with Dad. That was where my love was, either that or hanging out in the horse barn with the animals. And I grew up. I went to college at UW-Madison, and I spent about 6 years in publishing. And I think I always wanted to be on the farm. I always knew my roots were agriculture. But even in those days, there was this, well, you got to go find a guy to marry to come back and farm with you. You can't do it yourself, you know. And I did get married. I did work on a farm with my husband for a while. And when that kind of went awry, I was in a partnership with my parents, and I stayed. And here I am, and I'm very capable. Women are very capable of doing this. It was a little bit of a mindset shift to get back involved in it. And after my years in publishing, and I've done some marketing work, and then I was on the farm in some way, shape, or form always. And that's where my heart really is.
Yes.
So.
And some of you that don't know, like here in the US, the farmers do all of the physical work themselves as well. They drive the tractors, they do the fixing of the equipment. Yeah. So you don't have like hand help like we have over there. So Cyndi, it's hard work, it's physical, it's hard as well. So how do you overcome some of those barriers to just get in there and
Well, yeah, there are certain things that I can't do, that I never could have the muscle and the brawn to do. But farming is not just the physical side of it. There's so much involved with the marketing and the bookkeeping and knowing what's going on in the industry and the political action side of things. And there's just so many other things. So you hire people that are better than you in the areas you need. That's what you do. Yeah. So I've always had good help. And yeah, I get in and I don't wrench things like I used to. And that's okay. I have my son now. So.
Talking about your son, you're also part of a family business. You said you were in a partnership with your parents. Yep. Your son is now working with you on the farm. So how has that been, getting called into the farming business, sharing some of the responsibility, but also having somebody that wants to think with you and make plans with you and argue with you sometimes?
Yeah, argue with. Well, like any business, you can have your growing pains. And I am so thankful he's involved. I'm so fortunate to have someone involved. There were 8 grandchildren in my parents' realm, and this is the only one that has a significant interest in farming. And he always says, Mom, I always knew I wanted to farm. I've wanted to farm since I was 7. He says that. So I'm very fortunate that I have someone that's that interested in being involved. And I'm a morning person. He's a night person. I make my list of things. He makes his list of things. And sometimes they mesh and sometimes they don't. So we have to work our way through some things. But I'm I'm just so grateful. He'll be fifth generation. And if he weren't there, I don't know that I would be continuing at the level I am, because you can't do it alone. This is, no farm makes it on its own anymore. You have to have a team of people around you, whether it's your suppliers or your co-op or your seed people or your bankers or your employees or your part-time help. You've got to have a good team of people that help you get through, because there's just too many things to track.
But family businesses are important for you, but not only for your family. You are also involved in estate planning and succession planning for fellow farmers and other farmers. How did you get involved in that, and what is your current role? How do you help fellow farmers?
I've been asked that before, and honestly, I don't know how it started. I think it just started with interest in helping my parents protect what my dad had built. And in college, I knew a little bit, and through different real estate purchases and transactions and buying and selling on the real estate, I think I learned over time, and I've always had discussions with farmers about protecting their assets. And over time, I've just picked up more and more and more. And now the law firm that I work with, I do very much enjoy having conversations with people about protecting what they have. If you don't have a trust, you should look at it. And if you decide not to do a trust, you have to at least understand why you don't want one, because it just makes so much sense to do it. So I really enjoy that. And I think as my son takes over more on the farm, I'll probably do more with the estate side of things, because I understand the business of the farm. I understand some of the family dynamics that can happen. And it's not always an easy transition, but if you don't address some of those things and you just say, oh, I'm leaving it to my kids, it'll be fine, it can turn into a big mess. And so having some conversations ahead of time, having some forethought to how you want to see things transition. And it makes a difference if you have kids interested in farming or if you don't, and if your kids aren't, what are you going to do with this farm? Are you going to help somebody else grow into the agricultural sector? Because that's a hard thing to get into if you're not born into it,
So what would you say are some of the main challenges of the other families that you work with? Is it to get the process starting, just to talk about a lot of these issues, or not issues, but just to talk about it? Or is it to actually go and implement it after we've made the plan? What would you say are the main challenges that keeps people from implementing their succession plans successfully?
I think we don't know what we don't know. And if a farming couple doesn't know what they don't know about estate planning, it's just an uncomfortable thing to venture into. So that initial conversation, that's your first hurdle. Your next conversation is how you set this up. That's your next hurdle. Keeping everybody on a kosher relationship so we're all talking and we're all good, that's another piece of it. And whether if you have someone that wants to work into the farm, equal and fair aren't always the same thing, and everyone has to understand that. So there's challenges all the way along. I don't know if there's one or two things you can put it to, because some families very much want to talk about it, they just can't get over the hurdle of implementing it. And other people don't even know how to start the conversation. So every situation has its own nuances.
Another thing you touched on earlier is you spoke about record keeping and bookkeeping, and I know you're not only doing your own farm's record keeping, but you're actually doing bookkeeping for fellow farmers. And so, please share a little. What are you doing for those farmers, and what you think the role of the records and the administration of a farm is? Is it just that you have your farm office there for important meetings, or how do you utilize your farm office?
My son often says, what did you do all day? When I have an office day and I'm in the office all day. Well, there's so much more that you can get involved with, and there's more than one way to farm. And if you can do it without being active in a lot of these other things, and then you can be active in other things, whether it's other organizations or whatever. But some of the farms, back to the question of how I got in the bookkeeping, the local attorney that I work with, I went in to help with their tax preparation. And you'd get farmers and non-farmers walking in with this bag of receipts and saying, here's my stuff. And I just go, oh, you don't know where you are on a monthly basis and where your expenses are? How can you farm without knowing where your money is? And there are people that operate that way. And that's okay, because we don't know what we don't know. So just taking those people and sitting down with them and saying, listen, let me do your bookkeeping and your record keeping for the year during the year. And most of them, we sit down like every 3 months. They give me their stuff and I take their bank statements and we talk about how the money's handled and make sure it runs through this account so that we track it. And then when I do it, we're tracking things. So by the time we get to tax time, I've already got a P&L that says this is where your income is, this is where your expenses are, this is where they break out. And they look at it and they'll go, oh, wow, I didn't realize I spent that much here, or just to be able to see it in that light, I think helps them give a different view of management on their own business. And it certainly helps the tax preparation because now it's pretty much done. If you're organized during the year, taxes are not a difficult thing. If you're not, it's very time consuming.
And you know what I also tell the people is that your tax dates and submission dates, they are fixed. You know ahead of time.
Right.
That date I need to submit that day. So if you do your preparation throughout the year, as you said, when it comes down to due dates, it's a lot easier to meet them without that added pressure of, I have to do it now within the next 24 hours, otherwise. And then usually when you do it under pressure, that's also when you make mistakes. Because you,
absolutely. Doing your due diligence ahead of time is well worth it. It takes a lot of pressure off of you as the farmer and off your tax preparer, and it helps you plan better. It helps set you up to say, you know, should I spend some extra money in this year or should I push it off till next year? It'll help you do all of that planning. It's a very important thing to have a good tax preparer involved with your business if you have your own business. And talk to them more than just at tax time, because there are things that you can learn about how to do a better job. So.
And would you say that the farmers that you help with and now you bring the financial information under the attention more frequently, that they tend to make better informed decisions or just better decisions in general on their farms?
I think you see a lot of that, but some of it is just, oh, okay, this is just a clearer picture. Some of them are pretty good managers. If they keep their receipts like that, they're doing some tracking. They're cognizant of what's going on. They're just throwing them in a pile instead of putting them in an organized computer system. But I think it helps all of them, you know, make better decisions as they go. And once you get a year or two in and you can show comparatives from one year to the next, that's when you really start seeing light bulbs go on, because they're like, oh, okay, this changed from this year to this year. You know, do they understand why, or is it a surprise to them? You know.
I want to jump to the next topic and talk a little bit about the use of technology. And I've seen your equipment, I've seen what you're using. You are really implementing a lot of technologies on your farm, not only physical software, but also like soil sampling, the way you do that. And you're also a beta tester for some companies who wants to try it out. What would you say is the role of technology, and how do you embrace that on your farm?
I've always been very forward thinking on technology. I think we were one of the first farms in the area to do variable rate fertilizer, working with our co-op. You know, that was in making your soil sampling more intensified, looking at how you can, if you need potash in this part of the field but not this part of the field, putting it where you need it. And ultimately that saves you dollars on your fertilizer bill. And that's one of the first things that is hard when you get a new technology is, okay, you want me to spend money on more soil testing, and I'm not sure I understand how this is coming back to me. Well, it did. And that was a good first example. Now, that was years ago. Now we get up into further things. So I've always been open to testing different things and looking at different things and the beta testing. And the precision has always been, I think, a good thing. The better job you do at planting, at getting that seed in the ground at a uniform level and getting it to emerge more uniform, and just having that the better chances you have of getting a uniform solid crop. And that's not what some people just want to get the seed in the ground, you know. But if you do a good job with that, you're increasing what your profit potential is. Now, weighing out what that extra expense is to what the benefit is, and we've been collecting yield maps for years. And early on, you learn a lot. And as time goes, you maybe don't look at them quite as much as you should. But the thing is, I've got this base of history that can help me track any trends that happen in those fields. And I think that that's good information if you like it. It's not for everyone. It's going to help you even if you don't look at it. But some people just don't want to adapt to that. But I definitely, the downforce systems, the fertilizer systems you can put on the planter, the different things to track your variable rating. So you're putting a higher population in the soils that can handle it and a lower population in the soils that don't handle it, or vice versa with beans, because beans, you put it higher on the poorer soils and lower on the good soils. So though all of those things can help your bottom line on seed purchases, on chemical purchases. And now I think it's going to be interesting to watch the spraying area and the chemical use, because with some of these photo eye systems that are being beta tested and coming out there to identify the weeds, and I've heard of people that have 100 acres to spray and they only use 23 acres worth of chemical because they're spotting where they need it, but they aren't wasting the chemical where they don't need it. So that same concept, I think, is going to come in that area.
Wow, so you put up a lot of different hats every day, every week, throughout the season. So which one of those hats would you say do you enjoy most?
It depends on the day. Totally, it depends on the day. That's the problem. I enjoy aspects of everything, which is why I probably have so many hats, is I've just enjoy seeing the whole agricultural community move forward. And I just enjoy it. I don't know which one would be more predominant. I really don't, you know, but I'll say I have office days and I have farm days or shop days, you know, and then you have animal days where we go and work with the steers, and you just shift it up. And I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing things so I can break it into segments. So it's not for everybody to do this much stuff. The older I get, the less I should be doing it. But
Cyndi, thank you for sharing your story with us. And as I said earlier, I'm really inspired by what you're doing. We didn't even touch on your involvement in your local community and local town and county. And thanks for what you're doing. You are really influencing other people. You're breaking down barriers. And yes, I think anybody that watches this will feel like, wow, if she can do it, I can do it.
Oh, you can do it. Anybody can do it.
So yes, thanks so much for sharing, and all the best to your current growing season, and with all the different projects that you are involved with. May you see the successes of that, and even the fruits of your hard work. Just keep on expanding and enjoy that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we are in a couple of years. So yeah, thank you. Yeah.